It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock. We have on the line Kathy Kelly. She is co-coordinator of Voices for Creative Nonviolence, along with Colonel Ann Wright. That in Kabul, in Afghanistan, we're talking to Kathy right now. It's the middle of the night there. Thanks for getting up. And, you know, she went on, one of the things that she said, I think it was deserves repeating here. It's hard to imagine the extent of explosive popular rage that would result if the shoe were on the other foot. If U.S. people were subject to aerial bombing, night raids, destruction of civilian homes, displacement, and starvation, in reality, the live wires of hunger and anger could exist in our lives, too. We could be angry, very angry about this war, angry enough to make it a political issue. Well, she wants to make it a political issue. And these very things that she's talking about, the way the economy is going here, we may feel these very things. And while we're spending gazillions of dollars in Afghanistan. So the one thing that I want to get to, Kathy, is please tell me what we can expect from the people if the United States were to leave. Do they want us to leave? Do they think they need us there? How would the government, would it continue to exist in its present form? Or do they understand geopolitics or our intervention there enough to be able to even have an opinion?
That's certainly a question that's been discussed every day that I've been here. Many, many opinions. I think that people feel very vulnerable to invasion from Pakistan or possibly Iran. Many people are anxious that a Taliban return could be one of great bloodshed and vengeance. People fear civil war. That fear has even grown lately because the United States military has been arming militias all over the country in every single village. The vision that General Petraeus has is to create an armed militia, and sometimes the people they're arming are just, people that are the local toughs, and they're putting police uniforms on them and calling them the militia. There are many fears that people legitimately have. Now, I've heard quite a few people say that in spite of the losses they've sustained, even the loss of loved ones, they don't want to go the route of revenge. They're tired of war, and they want to see leadership emerge that won't be in the hands of either their invaders and occupiers or in the hands of the corrupt government that they believe has included many criminal warlords. I honestly have heard this many times, but each time somebody says, yes, we want to see peace in the future, they don't have a clear sense of an option that will create that. But it has seemed that two of the people who most capture the imagination and the support of the very ordinary people, the common people, are Dr. Ramadan Bashar Dost and Malalai Joya. Dr. Bashar Dost, he's so interesting in his choice of where to meet people. He set up a tent in a vacant lot in Kabul. Now, this man he has his PhD in international law, but he was a member of parliament. In fact, he's been elected easily and came in third in the presidential race. But he doesn't want to drive around in a fancy car and live in a luxurious palace. He instead chooses to meet people in a vacant lot. You sit on purple plastic chairs under the sun, and that's where he holds his office meetings. And he believes that it would be best to clamor for a transitional government that would be in the hands of the United Nations for 1 year, during which time tribunals would be set up and the criminal warlords, and he names them, which is very brave to do. I'll name them too, although I'm in a much more secure situation. But he talks about Dostum and Khalili and a man named Fashim, and these people are always part of the government right now, and they're very much figures who murdered many people. They're responsible for war crimes according to journalists, human rights groups, and many people all across Afghanistan. Well, Dr. Ramadan Bashar Ghost believes that those people should be held accountable and not allowed to be part of governance. And he believes that if Afghanistan could get a year during which time there was international peacekeeping assistance, they would be able to start getting back on their feet here. Malalai Joya agrees with Dr. Ramadan Bashar Ghost on many points. She also is a former MP. She was thrown out of the parliament because of her very caustic and yet honest statements. And she doesn't think that the UN could be trusted either. Her vision is of a time when all of the warlords, whether they're Taliban or former Northern Alliance or drug lords or cronies who've been in it for opportunism in the more recent government of Hamid Karzai, that they all would be forbidden to have any governance over the people of her country. And she looks for a time when justice would be present. And she's a very fiery speaker and has a great deal of support.
Well, let me ask a couple of questions. I'm looking at Afghanistan over history, and they never really were a homogenous people. It's not like you go to an Afghani in the western part of what is, the lines drawn by Western Europe, and you say, what do you have in common with the people in eastern Afghanistan? And I get the impression that they're not really it's more tribes and families and regional and ethnicities and this kind of, have they kind of come to the idea that they need to be a country before they can kick out United Nations or the present government or the puppets of the U.S. or the U.S. military? Have they kind of resigned themselves to having to be a national government? Or are there people out there saying, look, I don't want to have nothing to do with any of your stuff. We just be our own little valley over here and be done with you. Is that idea even cross anybody's mind?
Well, I think in many of the villages, the idea of national governance has been trivial. The government has had a trivial influence on everyday life. But that doesn't mean that people want to see what presently is Afghanistan more or less balkanized and turned into a number of separate states. I think people are not confident that that would solve problems because each of those separate states would again be vulnerable to invasion from neighboring groups, or it's possible that people would be left even more bereft in terms of being able to economically get ahead. And so I think the idea of shared resources in a contiguous set of provinces that form Afghanistan is still an attractive idea to many of the people that we've talked with. I've been with youngsters who are from Hazara, and that's the most discriminated against group in the country. They mainly live in Bamyan, and you could refer to Hazarajat, but they've really worked hard to include Tajiks in their group, and they're trying to include Pashto youth in their group, and they've gone to every Pashto home in their area trying to make sure.
Oh, we lost. Yeah, we lost the communication. Let me go ahead and I'll try and get with her on this. Go ahead and call her back. Yeah, she's getting her taken care of. So we'll go ahead and do that. We lost the feed. But it's amazing that we're able to get it as well as we are. And also ask her to move the camera down so it can see her a little bit. And let me go ahead and do... Sierra is calling you back, lost connection. Oh, she sees it. Okay. Well, this is, you got her? You got her back? You there, Kathy? Yeah, we got you. That's fine. We got you back. That's all good. Go ahead and, while we're in the break, go ahead and tilt your camera down just a little bit so we can get your full face and we're not getting just the top of it. And we'll be right back here in just a little bit on Declare Your Independence. Technology is what's changing the world. We'll be right back.